When night begins settling across the world, everything softens. The wind loses its sharpness, the horizon dissolves into violet haze, and the familiar weight of daylight seems to lift from your thoughts. In that quiet interval between waking and dreaming, the earth itself feels closer, as if its ancient breath rises to meet yours. This is the hour when forgotten things stir. And this story begins with the faintest murmur beneath the soil, a whisper from stones that have been waiting far longer than memory. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself standing on an open plain. The ground beneath your feet is warm, as though the sun reluctantly surrendered its final glow. Ahead of you stretches a wide valley wrapped in silver mist. No human voices linger here, no machines, no lights, only the pulse of the world untouched. The silence is not empty, it hums with something older, something deep. The air carries a vibration you don't immediately understand, a subtle note rising from far below. It feels like a summons. Your steps guide you down the gentle slope toward the valley. As the fog thins, the outline of a structure begins to reveal itself. At first, it looks like a boulder left behind by some long-retreated glacier, but as you draw closer, you notice the angles, smooth surfaces, sharp lines, edges too deliberate to be shaped by accident. The stone seems almost warm with breath, as if within it lies a memory that simply never died. A faint sound trembles across the wind, not quite language, not quite music, but unmistakably meaningful. A single message drifting toward you: remember. When your fingertips brush the stone, the illusion of time peels away. Dust, darkness, and distance fall aside. You are no longer a visitor, but an observer of its birth. You see hands cutting the stone, but these hands do not belong to the world you know. They move with impossible precision, guided not by tools, but by understanding. Each line carved into the surface follows a pattern older than geometry, a harmony woven between matter and rhythm. It feels less like construction and more like listening. Whoever shaped this place was not imposing order on stone, they were decoding it. Images flow into your mind like a soft tide. You do not see them so much as feel them. Seasons passing in long breaths, a sky filled with unfamiliar constellations, and a land alive with people who walked with a different kind of certainty. They were not giants nor spirits, but they carried a calm strength, a knowledge that allowed them to build in perfect conversation with the earth. Their structures were more than shelters, they were instruments, memory vessels. The wind shifts, and the stone's faint vibration deepens. It grows warm beneath your palm. The pulse aligns with your heartbeat, adjusting, guiding. For a moment, you sense what the builders must have intended. This structure was not meant for worship or burial. It was meant to awaken, to tune the human mind like an instrument so it could hear what the world itself was singing. Overhead, the first stars appear, piercing the darkening sky. Their light glints on the surface of the stone, tracing the carved lines in silver. Something about the pattern feels familiar, even though you've never seen it before, as if it echoes a shape hidden somewhere behind your thoughts. The stone and the stars seem designed to face each other, to reflect each other, to complete an unfinished circuit. A cool breath of air drifts from an opening you hadn't noticed before. It leads into a passageway carved with such precision that you cannot help but feel expected. As you step inside, the world behind you falls silent. The wind, the plain, the distant hum of the night all fade until only your heartbeat remains, steady and calm. The corridor is narrow at first, Faint lines run along the walls, shallow enough to be settle, deep enough to guide the fingertips. When your hand hovers close, a gentle warmth radiates outward. Not heat, not energy, but recognition, as if the stone is greeting you, acknowledging you, scanning the rhythm of your presence. With every step, the corridor widens until it opens into a circular chamber. Above you, a round aperture reveals a slice of night sky. A thin column of starlight pours into the room, falling directly onto a single standing stone at its center. Unlike the outer walls, this stone is smooth as still water, its surface emitting a slow, deliberate pulse. The moment you approach, a sequence of images blooms behind your eyes. You see lush grasslands spreading to the horizon, rivers coiling through bright valleys, and structures like the one you stand in rising like markers across an ancient landscape. The builders move through these visions with serene purpose. They touch the stones, and the stones answer. They read the sky, and the sky shifts in return. You sense harmony, not dominance, a world held in deliberate balance. But then the visions change. A bright object streaks across the sky. The earth shudders. Oceans heave. The builders stand still, not in fear, but in acceptance. They know what is coming. They cannot stop it, but they can prepare a message. They carve these chambers. They embed what they know into the stone. And they trust that someone, someday, will hear it. The central stone's glow deepens. Its pulse slows, syncing with your breath. A soft warmth spreads through your chest, inviting you deeper into rest, into stillness, into a dream that does not belong to one lifetime, but many. Before sleep fully takes you, a final whisper rises from the chamber floor, gentle as a lullaby. Remember, the future belongs to those who do.
Sleep takes you gently, not as a sudden fall, but as a soft drifting, like settling into the deepest layer of warm water. When your awareness returns, you find yourself still within the circular chamber, yet something has shifted. The starlight pouring through the opening above seems brighter than before, almost liquid in texture, gliding across the room like a pale tide. The central stone stands quiet now, its pulse lowered to a slow, steady rhythm, almost as if it is resting with you. You rise, but the movement feels dreamlike, weightless. Everything is calm. The earlier whispers from the stone no longer press at your mind, but a new sense of orientation emerges. You feel drawn toward another passageway behind the central stone. It is narrow and almost hidden, as if only visible to someone who has already passed a quiet test. When you step into this second corridor, the temperature changes. The air is cooler, fragrant with minerals and faint earthiness, like the breath of a long-forgotten cave. The walls here are different. Instead of straight lines, the carvings curve and spiral, forming patterns that feel less like symbols and more like the trace of a voice captured in stone form. You begin to notice something subtle. Every time you breathe, a faint sound resonates along the corridor. It is soft, almost imperceptible, yet unmistakably responsive to your presence, as if the air itself is singing back to you. You pause, inhale slowly, and the sound deepens, harmonizing for an instant before fading again. It feels like walking through the inside of a musical instrument built by the earth. The passage opens slowly into a wider chamber. This room differs from the first one. Its ceiling is lower, its shape more elongated, and along both sides run rows of upright stones. Each stone is marked with deep grooves, not decorative but deliberate, almost like the notches on an ancient tuning device. When you move closer, you realize the grooves are arranged in repeating intervals. They remind you of something instinctual, something buried in the shared memory of humankind: rhythm. As you step deeper into the chamber, the air shifts again. A low vibration stirs beneath your feet. It is not frightening. On the contrary, it feels welcoming, like a heartbeat synchronizing with your own. The standing stones begin to respond, one after another, each emitting a faint tone at a different pitch. The room comes alive with a dim, glowing resonance. You realize the purpose of this place. It is not built for worship. It is not built for ceremony. It is built for remembering. The stones are singing, not in words, but in frequencies. Each tone holds a fragment of something larger, knowledge passed through sensation rather than language. Understanding is not forced. It arrives slowly, like a tide rising around your feet. You sit down on a smooth platform carved into the floor. The moment you do, the tones shift. The chamber's sound adjusts to your posture, to your breath, to the rhythm of your presence. The stones listen first, then respond. The first memory that rises is not a vision, but a feeling. Warmth spreading across a once cold land. A dawn that lasted centuries. A world filled with early life stirring at the edge of awakening. The builders, whoever they were, had watched this land transform. They had guided it gently, never dominating, always aligning. You see for the briefest moment the silhouettes of these early architects. They move across vast grasslands, their gestures precise and graceful. They do not force change, they negotiate with the world around them. Their tools are simple but powerful, instruments that respond to resonance and intention. They knew how to shape stone using sound alone, tuning it until it shifted under its own will. Then the vision dissolves into another. The sky grows darker, heavier. Something approaches from beyond the horizon of known stars, a celestial body, bright and unsteady, trailing fire. The builders gather in chambers like the one you sit in, discussing its arrival not with fear, but with profound clarity. They understand cycles, endings, and the importance of leaving behind what matters most: guidance, encoded not in writing, but in vibration. The chamber quiets. For a moment, the tones fade completely, leaving only silence. Then a single note rises, pure and steady. It resonates through your bones, carrying a message you cannot translate into words, but you understand it nonetheless. You are here, not by accident. The stone to your right glows faintly. You reach out, and the surface is warmer than expected, almost alive. When your fingers touch it, the chamber shifts again. The stones behind you brighten one by one, forming a soft arc of illumination that outlines a new path at the far end of the hall. You had not seen it before. It seems to appear only when the chamber has finished speaking. You stand and take a slow breath. The moment you do, the tones recede to a peaceful hum. The stones are no longer singing, they are resting too. You step toward the new path, leaving behind the chamber of echoes and its quiet wisdom. The new corridor is wider than the others, and the air is warmer here. Faint golden light glows from tiny openings in the walls, as though the structure draws in starlight and redistributes it gently. You walk forward, feeling steadier, calmer, and deeply connected to the place than before. At the far end of the corridor, you see a faint opening, a carved doorway leading into a space filled with soft amber light. There is a sensation waiting there, not of memory, but of anticipation. You know without question the next chamber will reveal something the others have only hinted at. The stones behind you whisper a final note, low and tender, guiding you toward the doorway. You step forward. The dream continues. The corridor narrows gently as you walk, and the warm amber glow ahead brightens with each step. It is not the harsh light of fire or the cold radiance of the stars. It is softer, almost velvety, as if made from the memory of sunlight filtered through ancient forests. When you pass through the carved doorway, the space opens around you with the quiet majesty of a sunrise unfolding inside stone. The chamber beyond feels different from the others, not heavier, not colder, but more intimate, as though built to receive not crowds, but individuals. The floor is smooth and sloped upward in a shallow curve, guiding your gaze toward the center, where a circular pool of light hovers above the ground. It is not a flame, nor a projection, but a phenomenon suspended between substance and glow. You can see the stone floor through it, yet at the same time it radiates gentle illumination onto the walls. You step closer. The air is still and temperate, smelling faintly of something ancient, mineral dust, rain-soaked earth, and the whisper of plants long extinct. The chamber absorbs sound so efficiently that even your breaths seem to fold into the quiet. Around the room, etched into the stone, are hundreds of shallow concentric rings. They ripple outward from the central light, each circle subtly shifting in color depending on the angle of the glow. For a moment, nothing moves. Then, the pool of light ripples. It responds to your presence. A faint vibration radiates outward through the floor, softer than the hum of the previous chamber, but more precise. When you kneel beside the glowing pool, the light bends toward you, stretching upward like a thread of sunlight drawn by invisible fingers. It traces the outline of your hand before dissolving back into its circular form. This place, you realize, is not built to teach, it is built to reveal. When your palm hovers above the light again, the chamber subtly brightens, and the rings carved into the stone begin to shift. Not physically, but visually. The light causes the etched lines to animate, flowing outward and inward in patterns that resemble the turning of celestial spheres. The rings represent not decoration, but time, cycles of climate, cycles of land, cycles of civilizations rising and fading like breaths in the long life of Earth. The vision begins gently. You see the world as the builders once saw it, not divided by borders, not separated by language, but unified under the vast dome of the sky. Rivers flow where deserts lie today. Forests cover lands now barren. Warm winds sweep across continents that future generations would call inhospitable. Life flourishes in abundance, and scattered across the green Sahara, the early builders construct observatories aligned with the pulse of the heavens. These people do not look familiar in a historical sense. They appear neither modern nor ancient in appearance. Their faces are calm, their eyes observant, their movements deliberate. They build using principles rooted in resonance and geometry, placing stones not according to brute force, but through harmonics that allow the earth to carry the weight effortlessly. Structures rise that do not dominate the landscape, but merge with it, designed to withstand not centuries, but entire epochs. Your breath deepens. The light ripples again. The vision shifts. Now the sky dims and the winds change. The first signs of the end arrive quietly, a cooling of the seas, the shifting of jet streams, the early collapse of ecosystems. The builders watch these changes not with panic, but with solemn understanding. They activate chambers like the one you are in now, filling them with encoded memories, embedding knowledge in stone, sound, and light. You see gatherings of these ancient architects assembling in great circles. They discuss not survival for themselves, but for the world that will come after. They know their era is fading. They understand the cycle cannot be stopped. But knowledge can endure if placed in the right form. The glowing pool brightens, and you feel a gentle warmth on your face as though touched by the past itself. Another vision rises. Seas surge against continents. The climate collapses faster than predicted. A great fragmentation occurs. Populations migrate in vast waves, scattering across lands that will one day be called Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. They carry echoes of their knowledge with them, but not the knowledge itself. Only a few remain near the great stone archives. Only a few continue the work of preservation. You see the final gathering. The builders stand in the last of their illuminated halls, placing their memories into the stones, aligning the final structures to the stars they know will shift over millennia. They speak softly among themselves, not in fear, but in acceptance. And then, slowly, their civilization recedes into history, replaced by peoples who will inherit their genes, but forget their names, their languages, their intentions. The vision fades. You return to the chamber, your hand still extended over the hovering light. It pulses once, twice, then settles into a steady glow. The concentric rings etched along the walls dim gradually until only the faint amber illumination remains. But something new has appeared. Opposite the doorway you entered, a gentle beam of light now outlines a second exit. You had not noticed it before because it did not exist before, or rather, it existed in silence, waiting to be revealed only when the chamber judged you ready to continue. You rise slowly, your body relaxed, mind calm, as though soothed by the deep rhythms of ancient memory. The chamber behind you dims further, like a lantern lowering its flame, content that its purpose has been fulfilled. You walk toward the newly illuminated passage. The light guides you, not bright enough to startle, but steady enough to assure. The floor slopes slightly downward, and a soft breeze drifts through the corridor. It carries a new scent, cool water, and polished stone. Ahead, you sense another chamber. A deeper one. A quieter one. A place not of memory, but of understanding. The dream draws you forward.
The corridor descends gradually, guiding you deeper beneath the earth. The scent of cool water intensifies, mingling with a crisp mineral aroma that feels ancient and pure. The walls here are smoother than before, as though shaped not by carving, but by currents of air or time itself. The glow from behind fades, replaced by a dim bluish radiance emanating from the end of the passage. As you take another step, the sound of water reaches you. Not the sharp echo of dripping, nor the rush of a river, but a gentle, rhythmic murmur. It resembles breathing, calm, steady, and patient. The corridor widens, then opens suddenly into a vast chamber unlike any you have seen so far. You stand at the edge of an underground reservoir. The ceiling arches high above, disappearing into darkness. Small crystalline structures embedded in the stone emit the faint blue glow that illuminates the room. The water below is perfectly still, glassy and smooth, reflecting the pale light like a floating mirror. A narrow stone walkway stretches across the reservoir, leading toward a distant platform in the center. You step onto it carefully, though the stone is warm and steady beneath your feet. The air is cool but comfortable. Everything feels meticulously balanced,
as if the chamber maintains its own internal harmony. When you reach the center platform, you see what sits there. A single monolithic stone rising waist-high, its surface polished until it reflects the blue glow. Unlike the other stones, this one has no grooves or symbols. It is blank, smooth, silent. But when you place your hand on it, the reservoir responds. The water below ripples outward in concentric rings, moving with slow precision. Each ripple glows faintly blue as it expands, as if the water itself is channeling the memory of the stone. The air vibrates with a sensation softer than sound, a subtle pressure behind your thoughts. Then the vision begins, not through sight, but through sensation. You feel yourself standing on a shoreline under a vast sky. The air is humid, heavy with the scent of vegetation. Before you lies a great body of water stretching far beyond the horizon. It is not an ocean, it is an inland sea fed by wide rivers and covered in shimmering reeds. Birds circle overhead. The land is green, abundant, alive. This is the Sahara, thousands of years before it became desert. You sense the presence of the builders. They move along the water's edge, their reflections shimmering across the dark surface. They carry long poles, ceremonial rather than functional, carved with symbols that pulse softly when held near the water. They test the currents, the winds, the magnetic signatures of the land. They understand this world intimately, not through conquest, but through communion. The vision shifts. Storms gather, rain pours, the Great Lakes flood, then recede, then flood again. The climate oscillates wildly, changes accelerating in ways that no one can stop. The inland seas shrink, the rivers collapse, the land dries, animals migrate or perish, forests crumble into dust. The builders react with methodical calm. They create chambers below the ground, reservoirs like the one you stand above, designed to collect and preserve water during the collapse. But these are not merely practical structures, they are memory keepers. Water, they know, is the world's oldest historian. It carries the echo of every place it touches, every sky it reflects. They carve the early histories of their civilization not into walls, but into the resonant architecture surrounding these reservoirs. The water becomes the medium through which memory is transferred, stored, and later awakened by those who can feel its frequency. The vision deepens. You feel yourself standing on a shoreline under a vast sky. The lakes are almost gone. The reservoirs hold the final remnants of ancient waters that once nourished forests and plains. A group of builders stand around one of those reservoirs, hands placed on stones like the one before you. They speak to the future through vibrations. They send knowledge rippling into the water, sealing it in the quiet language the earth itself understands. And then, slowly, their civilization dissolves into the sand. The vision fades, and you find yourself once more in the underground chamber, your hand resting on the monolith. The water is still again. The glow softens. But something has changed. A small bridge of pale light now appears on the far side of the reservoir, stretching from the walkway to a darkened section of the chamber wall. It flickers subtly, beckoning. Another path has revealed itself, ready for you to follow. You take a steady breath and step toward it. The bridge holds your weight, warm and silent beneath your feet. The water below reflects your movement, undisturbed yet attentive, as though carrying your steps in memory. When you reach the other side, the bridge dissolves into the air like mist touched by sunlight. Before you stands a narrow doorway cut into the wall. Beyond it lies darkness so complete that the faint glow of the reservoir does not penetrate it. Yet the darkness feels inviting, not threatening. It is the kind of darkness found in deep caves, in hidden chambers, in the quiet corners of the world where ancient things sleep. You step forward into the blackness. The stone beneath your feet slopes downward. The air cools. The silence deepens into something profound, like the calm of the universe before the first star ignited. Somewhere far ahead, you sense a presence, not a being, but a place that holds not memories, not resonance, but truth. A place where the builder's message becomes clear. You continue walking. The dream opens further. The dream carried the listener onward, deeper into the hidden geographies of their own inner night. When the fog finally thinned, the world revealed a shoreline unlike any they had seen before. Pearlescent sands stretched outward in a quiet curve, glowing faintly as though lit from within. Overhead, lantern-like orbs drifted slowly in the sky. They moved with the softness of jellyfish, pulsing gently, illuminating the beach in warm tones of gold and amber. Each light swayed as if breathing, and the air shimmered with calm. The first sensation was stillness, not silence, but an effortless stillness, like a held breath before dawn. Beneath their bare feet, the sand felt warm and smooth, yielding slightly with every step as though it welcomed their presence. When they inhaled, the breeze carried hints of cedar and sweet rain, the kind of fragrance that settles the body before the mind even realizes it is relaxing. They walked forward. The lanterns above drifted in loose constellations. Some hovered close, lowering themselves like curious birds, simply observing. Others drifted far overhead, scattering soft halos across the tide. Then came a sound, a faint chime, a delicate ringing, distant yet familiar, like wind brushing through crystal threads. It grew ever so slightly with each step the listener took, not beckoning them, but harmonizing with their movement, as if the very air wished to join them. The shoreline ahead curved into a cove, framed by black stone formations, shaped smooth by centuries of calm tides. A soft mist lingered near the water's edge, rippling as waves moved in slow, steady breaths. The sea itself was a deep violet, shifting under the lantern light like liquid dusk. Whenever a wave unfurled and returned, it left a trace of shimmering residue that flickered like stardust suspended in water. The listener paused to watch it, mesmerized. As they crouched near the tide, the stardust swirled toward them, forming delicate spirals around their reflection. The water, clear as polished glass, revealed not only their outline, but subtle movements beneath the surface. Shapes drifted there, graceful and slow, like ribbons carried on an underwater wind. They were translucent creatures, resembling a fusion of fish and floating petals. Their bodies glowed with pale blues and gentle greens. As they glided past, they released tiny motes of light that rose to the surface and disappeared into the mist. The chime sounded again. This time, the listener turned toward the rocky formations. Nestled between two tall pillars of stone was an archway, not carved by hand, but shaped by countless years of wind and tide. At its center hung a single lantern orb, larger and brighter than the others. Its glow pulsed in a rhythmic pattern that felt almost like a slow heartbeat. Drawn toward it, the listener stepped through the archway. The world shifted. Beyond the stone threshold lay a hidden inlet illuminated by hundreds of lanterns. These were smaller than the ones in the sky, anchored gently to the sand, bobbing in shallow pools, clustered in soft coils along the rocks. Their lights reflected across the water, multiplying into what looked like an endless net of golden constellations spread upon the ground. At the center of the inlet stood a tall, slender tree. Its bark glowed with pale silver light, and its branches hung low, each one holding a small crystalline pod. Some pulsed softly, others remained dim, waiting. As the listener approached, one pod descended, floating toward them with a slow, deliberate motion. It hovered at chest level, emitting a calm, steady warmth. They extended their hand. The moment they touched the surface of the crystal, a gentle vibration began. Images unfurled behind their eyes, memories, both known and forgotten. Childhood summers, moments of quiet triumph, unspoken fears that dissolved into nothing as light swept through them. Even dreams they had once abandoned flickered into view, not as regrets, but as seeds waiting to grow again. The pod, sensing their calm, brightened. Its surface dissolved into motes of amber light, dispersing like pollen on a soft breeze. The tree responded with a slow shimmer that ran up its trunk and along every branch. The lanterns across the inlet flickered in harmony, as if acknowledging the listener's presence. Then the water stirred. From the violet sea came a new sound, a low, resonant hum. It rolled across the sand in gentle waves. The mysterious ribbon-like creatures rose to the surface, drifting closer. Their bodies cast rings of light across the inlet. As they gathered, they formed a loose circle around the listener, not enclosing them, but integrating them into the quiet ritual unfolding around them. The hum continued, soothing every corner of the mind. Muscles softened, breathing slowed. The listener felt the weight of waking life dissolve further. The air itself seemed to adjust to their presence, supporting them, carrying them, guiding them toward deeper rest. The lanterns in the sky descended slightly, swaying like stars lowering themselves to rest on the horizon. One by one, they aligned in a gentle spiral pattern overhead. Each ripple brushed against the listener like a warm blanket settling over their shoulders. The shoreline, the sea, the luminous creatures, even the tree with its crystal pods, all began to blend into one cohesive glow. The world didn't fade, it softened. Every line blurred into gentle watercolor. Every light became warmth, every sound became breath. As the chapter closed, the listener stepped toward the water. The lantern reflections rippled around their ankles, warm as morning sun. The dream deepened. The night held them carefully, preparing to guide them into the next, even quieter realm.
The dream shifted again, but this time the transition was quieter, almost imperceptible. It began as a change in temperature, a subtle coolness that brushed across the listener's skin. The lantern shoreline dissolved like ink in water, and the glow of the inlet stretched upward into columns of faint, drifting light. When the world settled, the listener found themselves standing before a vast entrance carved into a hillside of smooth stone. The opening was tall, arched, and lined with faintly luminous patterns that resembled flowing script. A soft breeze moved past, carrying a sound that resembled distant whispers. Not urgent, not unsettling, they were gentle, like voices humming lullabies from far away. The doorway welcomed them with a soft pulse of light. They stepped inside. The interior opened into an immense corridor. The ceiling arched high above, lost in the glow of iridescent mist. Walls of polished stone rose on either side, etched with swirling patterns that resembled waves, constellations, and drifting clouds. As the listener moved deeper into the passage, the walls responded. Each step triggered a faint shimmer that rippled outward in delicate rings of light. It felt as if the space were alive, listening, recording, and welcoming.
The whispers grew clearer, soft but resonant, echoing without direction. No single voice could be identified. They blended into one continuous harmony, as though thousands of gentle breaths were shaping the same melody. The listener slowed their pace, letting the sensation wash over them. The corridor seemed infinite, yet never overwhelming. Every stone and shadow aligned itself toward peace. Eventually, the path expanded into a circular hall. It was breathtaking. A vast dome rose overhead, its interior surface covered in countless shimmering threads of light. They moved slowly, drifting in spirals that never intersected, yet remained perfectly synchronized. In the center of the hall, a pool of still, glass-like water reflected the dome's luminescent web, doubling its depth and turning the entire chamber into a sphere of floating light. Around the circular pool stood tall columns made of a pale, translucent stone. Inside each column flickered images, like memories suspended in liquid. Some were faint silhouettes, others were vibrant scenes of sunlight, laughter, forests, rainstorms, quiet mornings, or forgotten hopes. Each column carried a different emotion, a different texture of experience. The listener approached one of the columns. Inside it, a memory hovered. Not a specific moment they recognized, but something deeper, older, a sense of being held, a sense of calm that had no beginning or end, a warmth that felt like a distant sanctuary. As they watched, the memory expanded into an image of gentle waves washing across smooth sand. The familiar sound of moving water echoed faintly. A sensation of peace flowed through their body as if the memory belonged to them, even if it came from far beyond their conscious past. They moved to another column. This one showed drifting clouds over a quiet valley, leaves falling in slow motion, a sky touched with early sunset, the soft hum of wind moving patiently through tall grass. The scene glowed with a kindness that made their breath deepen. Then the whispers returned, clearer now. They seemed to come from the dome above. One echo, soft but distinct, floated downward, a single tone, warm and resonant. It touched the pool in the center of the hall, and the water responded. Rings of light rippled outward. The surface brightened, shifting from clear reflection to a soft, pulsing radiance. The dome lights slowed their spiraling motion, aligning themselves. The whispers, once scattered and distant, began to converge into harmony. The listener instinctively stepped closer to the pool. The moment they reached the water's edge, the hall transformed. Light lifted from the pool like rising mist. It curled around their arms, shoulders, and face, wrapping them in a cocoon of slow-moving warmth. The whispers grew quieter, the harmony deeper. The columns dimmed slightly, allowing the pool's glow to take center stage. Then the pool projected an image upward. It was not a memory, not yet. It was a possibility. A wide-open plain bathed in twilight, tall grasses glowing at their tips, a gentle pathway stretching forward, marked by soft lanterns that flickered in a steady rhythm, a gentle wind brushing the scene. No fear, no urgency, only invitation. The listener understood. The hall was offering them a dream within a dream, a place constructed from their own unspoken desires for rest, clarity, and peace. The pathway asked for nothing except presence. The pool brightened again. The image shifted. Now it showed the listener themselves, standing still, eyes soft, shoulders unburdened. Around them drifted the same floating lights that had followed them along the shoreline. They hovered protectively, illuminating the air with calm. The dome overhead resonated gently, sending a wave of warm vibration through the hall. The columns glowed in unison, Shadows softened. Every corner of the chamber seemed to breathe with the listener. In that moment, they felt weightless, freed from expectations, disconnected from the noise of waking life. The hall created space for them to simply exist, to be present, to feel. The whispers faded until only one remained, a single calming note that rested at the edge of hearing. The pool dimmed, the image dissolved. The dome's lights resumed their slow spirals, signaling that the ritual of the hall had ended. The listeners stepped back, breathing deeply. Their body felt lighter, their mind quieter. The path behind them dimmed slowly, encouraging them forward. At the far end of the hall, a new doorway revealed itself. Beyond it shimmered a pale blue glow, soft as a distant horizon before dawn. You walk forward through the pale blue glow at the end of the hall, your footsteps soft on stone, as though the corridor itself absorbs your passing. The glow intensifies gently, revealing a high-arched doorway carved with delicate constellations and flowing lines that pulse faintly. As you push the door, it moves soundlessly, unfolding into a chamber so vast it seems to extend beyond the world you know. The moment you step inside, the air shifts, cooler now, tinged with a faint metallic scent, like ancient air breathed long ago by unseen visitors. Above you, the ceiling opens into a dome of midnight blackness, studded with pinpricks of light. So many stars, so perfectly placed that they might be real. Around the perimeter rise tall stone slabs, each engraved with a spiral of symbols, not letters, not hieroglyphs, but shapes curved like waves, like the orbits of planets, like the dance of galaxies seen from far below. Between each slab, narrow beams of soft starlight descend, forming bridges of light that stretch across the chamber floor like silent pathways. You stand at the center, the blackness overhead reflecting in your quiet breath. The starlight seems alive, as though each point pulses gently, breathing slowly in the immensity of this space. The silence is deep, not heavy, but attentive, expectant. It feels as though the stones themselves are waiting for something or someone. A hush settles, and for a heartbeat, you sense the slow rotation of the dome. The stars shift imperceptibly, realigning themselves, not randomly, but deliberately. Their motion is ancient, but accurate. For a moment, you lose all sense of time. Your pulse slows, your senses open. You become aware of the soft hum that vibrates through the air, barely audible, but resonating through your bones. You raise a hand. The beam of starlight nearest you flickers, then intensifies, casting pale lines of light across your palm. As you stand there, the beam gently pulses, as though reading you, acknowledging your presence. The engraving on the stone slabs begins to glow, tracing the spirals and curves with thin threads of luminescence. The ceiling above you responds. One by one, the tiny stars brighten, and the dome becomes alive with movement. Not chaotic, but measured, graceful, orchestrated. From the silence emerges a low tone, deep and sonorous, a sound that doesn't vibrate the air as much as the stillness around you. It resonates inward, in your chest, in your bones, in the space between thoughts. With that tone, the room shifts. The columns of glowing code begin to rotate slowly around you, each slab turning with silent dignity, aligning differently with the beams of light. It feels as though the entire chamber is recalibrating. As the last slab rotates to face you, the starlight intensifies along its spiral, and you see within the carving a subtle relief, not of figures, but of maps, land masses that rise and fall, coastlines, rivers, great seas. These are not maps you recognize. The shapes shift before your eyes, sliding and reconfiguring, as though the chamber holds not one map, but many, layered across eras, across climates, across ages. You realize this is not a memory chamber, it is a chronicle, a library of worlds that have existed, worlds that may yet exist. The stars overhead are coordinates, not decoration. The stone slabs are data, and the light is the key to reading them. You step closer. The moment your foot crosses one of the glowing bridges, the hum deepens. The air thickens with quiet electricity. The starlight under your foot pulses, then stretches outward in a web across the floor. The map carved in the slab glows brightest at that moment, and the lines of land and sea shift again, aligning with the pattern of light beneath you. It is as if you have activated a projection. A world unfolds around you, beyond the constraints of stone. You close your eyes. When you open them again, you stand not in the chamber, but on the shore of a turquoise sea under a strange sky. The water laps gently at your feet. The air is warm, humid, carrying the scent of salt and wildflowers. Behind you, tall stone towers rise, carved into spirals that echo the slabs of the chamber. They ascend toward unknown heights, their tips disappearing into drifting mist. Islands ripple on the horizon. Unknown constellations sparkle above, different from any you have seen. You walk forward, drawn by the sound of distant bells, deep, slow, resonant. They come from the stone towers, ringing as though marking time itself. Your footsteps echo, the water ripples under your movement. The world feels alive, ancient, coherent, not broken by time, but shaped by survival. The towers glow faintly, the stars overhead shift slowly like a slow breath. Far away, the sea pulses softly like a heartbeat. Then a wind rises, warm at first, then sharp, as though carrying voices from another era. You sense people, not visible but present. They walk their land, tend the towers, watch the sea, chart the stars. Their lives are woven into these stones and water. Their legacy lives not in tombs, but in geometry, in alignment, in resonance. Their whisper lingers at the edges of hearing, carried by wind and waves, by stone and light. Suddenly, beneath the sea's surface, the water begins to glow, a soft teal glow rising in waves. Shapes emerge, vast structures, crystalline towers reaching up from the depths. They shimmer, then disappear beneath the waves again. It is as if the world remembers what has been lost, not destroyed, but submerged, waiting for someone to find it. The bells slow, the wind quiets, the stars in the sky freeze their slow dance. The horizon softens into mist. The glow around your feet fades. You close your eyes. When you open them once more, you are back in the vault of silent stars. The slab behind you has shifted again. New maps lie carved on its surface, new alignments, new coastlines, new possibilities. The chamber dims, the beams of light retract. The dome above returns to stillness. The hum fades to silence. Yet inside you, something has changed. A small pulse, a memory not your own, a promise of knowledge waiting to be remembered. You breathe deeply, step backward. The doorway ahead glows softly, a pale arc of promise. You walk towards it, not obedient, but curious. The world ahead is unknown, but you feel prepared. The stones have spoken to you, the stars have listened, and you carry their silence with you as the path continues into darkness and beyond. The dream is far from over.
You descend a gentle stone ramp that curves like the inside of a vast spiral shell. The light fades behind you, replaced by a soft amber glow that seems to emanate from the very walls. The deeper you walk, the more the air changes. Warmer now, denser, carrying a faint vibration like a far-off heartbeat. Each step you take echoes softly, but the echo does not sound like your own footfall. It repeats with a slight delay, as though someone or something is following at a great distance, mirroring you. You pause. The echo pauses. You breathe. The chamber seems to breathe with you.
Ahead, the ramp opens into a long corridor lined with towering pillars. Each pillar is carved in flowing vertical lines that shimmer faintly, as if catching light from somewhere far above. The walls curve inward, forming an immense tunnel that seems to stretch into infinity. At first glance, the chamber appears empty, but as your eyes adjust, you notice faint silhouettes etched into the stone floor, shallow depressions shaped like footprints. Not one set, hundreds. Some small, some broad, some long, some short. Footprints that cross, overlap, diverge, and disappear into the darkness ahead, like the fossilized memory of 1,000 journeys. You kneel and place your hand on one. The moment your skin touches the stone, a vibration ripples through your fingertips, subtle like the memory of a sound. A whisper moves through the air. Not a word, not a voice, an impression. The pillars around you flicker with faint amber threads of light, rising and falling rhythmically. You realize this place is not merely a hall. It is a record of every traveler who has walked it. The stone remembers each step. It carries the residue of every soul who passed here before the world changed, before their cities fell, before their names vanished into myth. You rise slowly, guided by the light patterns that begin to pulse along the corridor floor. The footprints nearest you glow faintly, illuminating a path that winds ahead. You follow it, feeling a presence beside you, not threatening, but observant, as though the hall itself is measuring who you are, comparing your steps with those of the ones who came before. As you advance, the pillars begin to hum, each at a slightly different pitch. The tones resonate like a chorus warming into harmony. The frequency rises and falls. The hall vibrates gently, as if tuning itself. You recognize the pattern, not music, but a code, a sequence, a memory rendered not in words, but in sound. You continue onward. The echoes shift. At first, they mimic your pace. Then they change, becoming slower, heavier, as though footsteps from another time are superimposed over yours. The floor ripples with faint light. For a moment, you see, not with your eyes, but with something deeper, shadowy figures walking through this same corridor, tall shapes draped in simple fabrics, carrying luminous orbs, smaller figures holding hands, bodies bearing tools carved from materials you do not recognize. Their silhouettes pass through you like reflections on water. They do not seem aware of you. They are memories, imprints. This hall is their echo. The pillars brighten as the shadows pass, reacting to each figure with gentle pulses of amber light. The corridor hums louder now, and a shift occurs. The shadows fade. The pillars turn their glow toward you. Their hum harmonizes with your pulse. A soft wind sweeps down the hall. You do not understand how wind can exist this deep underground, yet it flows around you, carrying warmth and something else, a sense of welcome, as if the hall has accepted your presence, as if you have passed an invisible threshold. You reach the midpoint of the corridor. The footprint depressions deepen here, as though this place held significance for the ancient travelers. The symbols on the pillars grow more complex, spirals interwoven with straight lines and angles. Your hand brushes one of the carvings, and the stone beneath your fingertips warms. The pattern ignites with soft light, and then the corridor changes. Not the stone itself, but your perception of it. A wave flows outward, revealing hidden layers beneath the surface. Beneath the footprints, you see luminous trails, glowing in thin threads of white-blue light. They intertwine and branch like rivers on a map. Each line pulses, representing routes traveled across ages. You see migrations, journeys, departures and returns, paths that lead into this hall from countless vanished landscapes. The hall is not merely a place, it is a nexus, a crossroads of extinct peoples and forgotten eras. A realization forms quietly in your mind. This hall remembers every person who sought refuge, who fled disaster, who carried knowledge through darkness and hoped the world would one day recover. Their footsteps were not random, they all converged here. A deeper hum rises. The corridor brightens to gold. At the far end of the hall, a massive door emerges from the shadows, carved with a single symbol, a circle divided by a vertical line, flanked by two spirals. The symbol glows white, bathing the threshold in pale light. As you approach, the echoes fade. The hall grows silent, attentive, as though waiting for your decision. You place your hand on the door. It does not push, it absorbs your touch. A soft vibration spreads through the stone, and the symbol on the door brightens, expanding outward in rings of light. Then, without a sound, the door dissolves into shimmering dust that lifts upward like a cloud of fireflies. Beyond it lies a soft, silver glow, a chamber you cannot yet see, a chamber that has been waiting. You take one final breath in the hall of echoed footsteps, carrying with you the weight of every life that walked this path before you. Then, you step forward into the silver light.
The silver light surrounds you like a mist, soft and cool, neither blinding nor dim. For a moment, you feel weightless, as though the air itself carries you forward. When the glow recedes, you find yourself standing at the threshold of a vast circular chamber. It is unlike any room you have entered so far. This one feels alive, not with memories or footsteps, but with intention. The walls curve upward into a seamless dome, smooth as polished stone, yet etched with delicate lines that ripple like soft waves. The air is still, overwhelmingly calm, and your breath echoes faintly, as though the chamber is listening, assessing, deciding what to show you. At the center of the chamber stands a single pedestal carved from translucent crystal. It glows faintly from within, radiating a pale silver light that casts long shadows along the curved floor. The shadows move gently, almost flowing, as though responding to the slow rhythm of your heartbeat. You approach the pedestal, the silence thick around you. The closer you come, the more the chamber responds. Lines etched on the dome begin to glow, tracing arc after arc across its surface. At first, they resemble abstract patterns, but soon you recognize them. Horizons, silhouettes of mountain ranges, coastlines, curves of land once shaped by hands now forgotten. This is not a map of a single world. This is a map of worlds across time. The pedestal's glow brightens as you place your fingertips on its smooth surface. Immediately, the chamber shifts. The floor beneath you becomes less solid, softening into something like liquid stone. The dome darkens, filled with a faint shimmer that resembles distant fog. A soft hum rises, deep and melodic, resonating through your chest. Then the chamber awakens. A thin ribbon of silver light unfurls from the pedestal and lifts into the air like a living thread. It drifts upward toward the dome, then spreads outward, branching into dozens of lines that stretch across the ceiling, tracing shapes in slow, luminous arcs. Each line becomes a horizon, a desert once green, a coastline long submerged, a valley carved before glaciers retreated, a mountain range rising, falling, rising again. Time begins to fold around you, not moving forward or backward, but unfurling in every direction at once.
The chamber shows you a world that existed long before yours. A warm, fertile land where rivers braided through plains and rainforests stretched across what is now barren. You can almost hear the wind that once moved through tall grass, almost feel the sunlight on your skin, almost see shadows of people walking across the horizon, carrying baskets, tools, stories. Their civilization thrived quietly, without leaving monuments. Their knowledge lived in memory, in tradition, in unbroken lines of teaching from one generation to the next. But their world changed. Storms grew stronger, seasons shifted, the rain stopped, the rivers shrank, the fertile plains cracked and turned to dust, the horizon changed color, and slowly the people began to move. The chamber shifts again, and a second world emerges, colder, shadowed by ice. Vast glaciers stretch across what was once green. People move through snow-covered valleys, their fires dim under the weight of endless winter. Their traditions shift, their tools change, their paths trace different routes across frozen land. In their silence, there is resilience, a quiet determination. Then the chamber shows a third horizon, one radiant with sunlight. Here, survivors of a long-forgotten catastrophe gather on stony ridges, constructing geometric structures that align with the rising and setting of the sun. They carve stones not to honor kings, but to remember the knowledge of the world before, its movements, its cycles, its warnings. The dome brightens. One by one, the horizons connect, forming a tapestry of eras interwoven. Then the chamber stills. The light focuses, and a single horizon takes shape. This one you recognize. A desert of endless sand, the faint outline of a giant shape half buried, the silhouette of a structure rising into sunlight, a civilization rediscovering fragments of a past it does not understand. The chamber shows you the moment the ancient memory was lost, and the moment it was rediscovered, thousands of years too late to remember its meaning. A deep tone resonates through the chamber. The pedestal pulses beneath your fingertips. The dome opens like a great eye, revealing a soft white glow that descends onto the floor, forming a final horizon, not from the past, but from the future. A coastline rearranged by rising seas, cities half overgrown with green, ancient stone structures still standing, their geometry unchanged, and people, not yet born, walking along the edges of those structures, wondering who built them and why. A quiet realization settles in your mind. This chamber is not showing the past, it is showing continuity. Every horizon is connected by knowledge, by survival, by memory carried forward through collapse after collapse. You understand now what this chamber represents. It is the place where the ancient builders accepted their fate, where they knew their world was ending, where they chose what to preserve and what to let go. The glow dims, the chamber returns to stillness. The dome's light fades to a muted silver, like the last gleam of dusk. The pedestal cools beneath your hand, its energy retreating inward. You step back slowly, absorbing the weight of what you have seen. The chamber does not speak, it does not sing or hum. It simply holds the silence of every horizon that came before you. A soft arc of light appears on the far wall, outlining a narrow door. It opens quietly, bathing the chamber in gold. There is one final place ahead, one final memory the ancients preserved, and the path now leads you there. You take a breath, steady and slow. Then you walk toward the golden threshold.
The golden doorway opens without a sound, its light settling around you like a warm veil.
As you step through, the air shifts from cool silver to gentle warmth, carrying a faint scent of distant rain and something older, like parchment left untouched for centuries. The passage narrows briefly, then widens into a chamber unlike any you have encountered before. At first, it appears completely dark, but as your eyes adjust, you realize the darkness is not emptiness, it is depth. Tiny points of light flicker across the walls, not static, but drifting, pulsing, breathing. They resemble stars scattered across a night sky, yet each one moves as though tracing its own deliberate path. The chamber is spherical, vast yet intimate, the kind of space that seems to exist both inside and outside of time. You take one step forward, and the stars respond. The entire room expands. The lights swirl upward, forming spirals like galaxies, then contract again into orderly lines. What once looked like a random scattering reveals itself as something meticulously arranged. This is not a sky, it is an atlas, a star map preserved by the ancients, not of constellations above them, but of constellations within them. Paths of meaning, patterns of survival. A soft vibration travels through the floor, rising through your body in a gentle hum. Then a single star breaks away from the cluster, drifting toward you. It grows brighter as it approaches until it hovers just a hand's width from your chest. The light is warm, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. The chamber seems to wait. Instinct guides you. You lift your hand and touch the glowing sphere. The chamber ignites. Light sweeps outward in a slow wave, illuminating the walls fully for the first time. What you thought were stars are actually fragments of crystal embedded in the surface, each etched with impossibly small patterns, diagrams, mathematical curves, spirals of information that shift when you blink. They are not meant to be read with the eyes, they are meant to be felt with understanding. The sphere in your hand dissolves into a thin ribbon of gold that wraps around your palm and then shoots upward, joining the swirling map above. Immediately, the room shifts. The walls ripple, showing images drawn from deep time, worlds rising and falling, cycles repeating, knowledge migrating across generations like migrating constellations. The ancients did not chart the stars of the sky, they charted the stars within consciousness. You feel the realization settle into you, quiet and certain. This chamber stores the mental architecture of the ancient builders, not their language or their politics or their wars, but the way they perceived existence, their pattern of thought, their intuition, their way of understanding the world through cycles rather than lines, through horizons rather than borders. The swirling constellations slow. They realign themselves into 3 enormous spirals that dominate the chamber's boundary. You look up at the first spiral. It glows softly in shades of amber. A memory forms in your mind, not spoken, but shown. The ancients studying the patterns of seasons, tides, migrations. They understood that life moved in cycles and that every civilization rose and fell according to rhythms older than memory. They built their wisdom on observation, humility, and the acceptance that nothing stayed the same. This first spiral is the cycle of continuance, the belief that survival does not come from conquest, but from adaptation. The second spiral brightens, this one pale silver. It carries images of great structures aligned with the sun, of communities gathering each year to recalibrate their knowledge, of children learning not facts, but frameworks. They taught how to think, not what to think. They preserved the geometry of understanding, so every new generation could rebuild what was lost without needing the exact instructions. This second spiral is the pattern of remembering, the idea that knowledge is resilient when stored in the collective mind, not in fragile monuments. The final spiral awakens in a soft, deep blue. It shows the end of their time, storms consuming coastlines, fields turning to dust, oceans rearranging themselves. The ancients realized they could not stop the collapse. Instead, they focused on what came after. They encoded their understanding into chambers like this one, leaving not warnings, but guidance, not commands, but possibilities. The third spiral is the horizon of return. The belief that every end is followed by a beginning, shaped by those who remember the patterns. As the spirals stabilize, the chamber grows silent. The star-like crystals dim until only faint outlines remain. A soft circle of light forms beneath your feet, warm and steady. It feels like the chamber is acknowledging something. It has shown you everything. The light beneath you spreads outward, reaching the chamber's edges. Slowly, the three spirals collapse inward, merging into a single point. That point lowers itself toward you, drifting until it stops just above your heart. It hovers there, pulsing gently, then dissolves into a small, calm warmth that settles inside your chest like a final gift. The Atlas has chosen you as its new bearer. Not to carry the burden of the past, but to carry the pattern of understanding forward. The chamber begins to close. The star-like crystals fade. The walls dim. A soft door of white light opens behind you. Not sudden, not urgent, but patient, as if encouraging you to step through when you are ready. You take in one last look at the fading constellations. Though the light is almost gone, the patterns remain in your mind. They feel familiar now, as if they were always meant to be found. You exhale slowly. The air carries the faint echo of ancient voices, not mourning, not warning, but trusting. You walk toward the doorway. The moment you cross the threshold, the chamber's light retracts and seals behind you, returning to its endless sleep. Ahead of you stretches a quiet path. Above you, a sky full of real stars. Within you, their patterns, now awake. The journey of the ancients is complete. Yours is just beginning.